With Austin Price, Brent Hubbs, Volquest.com, a little post-game mini podcast here as Tennessee comes to Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina, and beats the Gamecocks by a score of 31-27. Austin, there's two ways to look at this. One, you could go coulda, woulda, shoulda, because Tennessee had some chances throughout the game, I thought, to really put South Carolina away and put them out. If you want to take that slant, you can. Or here's Tennessee continuing their win streak by sort of doing it by any means possible. You know, making a play on special teams, making a play on defense. What's your overarching takeaway from Tennessee's win tonight?
A win's a win. And, Jarrett said, it wasn't an ugly win. It's the SEC. I mean, we're going to have some, back and forth. And, you look around college football, or specifically in this league, look at how Georgia played at Arkansas. It was ugly. And they beat a bad Arkansas team, but it was ugly. Texas A&M barely beat Vanderbilt. There were plenty of moments today.
Mississippi State goes to Baton Rouge and wins, which nobody saw coming.
Yeah, and who saw 623 yards passing?
Right.
We knew they were going to throw it all over the wide. So I thought Tennessee, I understand the angst on Jared. I get it. He misses easy throws. But at the end of the day, like you can hear Jeremy Pruitt afterwards, he ain't making a change. That's who they believe in, and they're out there every day in practice. They see who makes plays and who doesn't. My biggest takeaway is it's what I should always know. Is early in the season, they're going to go with older veteran type players, and those older veteran type players made plays tonight.
Yeah, they did.
DeAndre Johnson made plays. Brandon Johnson made plays. If you had told me that those two guys would have played the roles they did, all jokes about DeAndre Johnson aside, and I don't think you imagined him playing as good as he did when he was in the football game. He had a kind of a rough opening drive, and then after that, he was borderline dominant in there when he was in there. You go back to the Henry interception, he was the one that pressured the quarterback and forced Hill to throw the football errantly. So, all the hoopla about Jalen Hyatt and all this and that, those guys are going to play. Their time's going to come, probably sooner rather than later. But early in the year, you got to lean on those guys that have been here, and I think Jeremy Pruitt and company did that tonight.
Yeah, he's just a sophomore, but he's played some last year. I thought Ramel Keaton, showed up and made some plays early. I like how they use Velus Jones. I think – he's dynamic in the kick return game, but he's a guy, if you can get it to him moving, I think he can make some plays for it. And clearly there was confidence on the road, tight ball game, even more go to your veterans. And look, it was your veterans that made the plays for you down the stretch when you talk about Brandon Johnson and Josh Palmer. I think Josh Palmer's got a chance to be a Sunday football player. I wasn't sure that would be the case with him when he got here. But I think he can make enough people miss. He knows how to get open. I think he's a good football player.
Yeah, I always use the analogy. Because Brandon is Josh Palmer Batman, or is he Robin?
Right.
I don't think he's Batman, but he's not Robin either. He's a little better than that. But that wide receiving core, they got a lot of just solid players. I don't know if there's an alpha. But there's I really think Tennessee's got every Saturday you could look up and go, okay, hey, Velus had 80 yards, or Brandon Johnson had 80 yards, or Josh Palmer had 80 yards, or one of the freshmen had 80 yards. It's interesting. Brandon Johnson has not been talked about at all in fall camp. He's just kind of steady Eddie. But tonight he was there. He made the huge catch there on that first touchdown drive to extend the drive on what I thought was still a really good throw by Jarrett to put it out there where only his guy could go get it. Brandon went and got it. Then he had this huge play there, on the game-winning touchdown drive where Tennessee went back ahead. So, yeah, my biggest takeaway is probably just it's a new set of Butch Jones orphans. It really is. DeAndre Johnson, Kayvon Bennett, Brandon Johnson, Jerry Garantano. You can go right down the list. Ty Chandler, who had almost 90 yards rushing and was Tennessee's best running back on the night.
Yeah, he was. I still think they can use Eric Gray in the passing game more.
They can.
I want to see that kind of grow and develop moving forward. So I'm with you. I think there's a lot of building pieces there, which is a great feeling for Tennessee fans on the night where you just find a way to win and you walk away and go, man, found a way to win in a game that we've lost a lot of the last 10 years. But there's a whole lot of room for growth for this team and possibilities for this team. Now, look, there's a lot of guys got to play better. Defensively, there were times the defensive front was good. I thought they got tired. And then they've obviously got to clean up the middle of the football field, okay? They missed Jalen McCullough early in this game for sure. They're playing.
Shy Smith looked like Pharaoh Cooper the one year that Justin Coleman just looked atrocious against Pharaoh Cooper. I mean, like, Danico Slaughter had no answer for him. And Danico didn't even play that bad. He was a true freshman,
right?
Put in a tough spot. But clearly when they went to Jalen McCullough late in the second half, it was like, all right, we got to find a way to gut through this. And I know Jalen, you're not 100%, but we need you. Right. And he got up there and he played. Yeah. And Bryce went over there to corner and did what Bryce does.
I thought Alontae Taylor played well. Now he got away with a couple. I thought he got away with one late where he pulled the receiver. They didn't throw the flag on it. He's going to have to control his mouth probably a little bit because he may get one of those.
He was chippy tonight.
Yeah, he was chippy. But I thought he played.
But that's the kind of game, though, that can help build his confidence.
Yeah, I thought he was really solid tonight in finding the football and knew what was going on. But look, Jeremy Pruitt's a secondary guy. Derek Anderson's a secondary guy. That film study will be tough for that crew. There'll be a lot for those guys to work on. But they got to get all their pieces back in place, as well. Moving up a line, look, Henry's Henry, okay? I thought he did solid things. He obviously had the interception on the tip drill. You talked about Jeremy Banks coming into this game, that he was going to start and going to play a lot.
Technically, he did not start, but
right.
He played more than Crouch, I felt like.
Well, he certainly did, and the reason he played more than Crouch is he played better than Crouch. He was much more active. Got to control a couple things, as we mentioned in the 2-minute drill. But there's an edge about him that we've all talked about. But Austin, he plays really fast and really violently.
He does, and that's been the common theme that coaches, people that have been out there at fall camp have all talked about. Just, when he lays a lick, people feel it. Not just the person getting hit feeling it, the people watching it feeling it. I mean, like, he's a little different. And honestly, Brent, I liked kind of just, he was talking out there. And I don't mean talking trash. I mean, I'm talking to his teammates. And I've always said that, the kid's got a lot of leadership skills. Jeremy talked about him being put on the leadership council. You can see why. I mean, like, he's a guy that players are, he's still a little rough around the edges. Jeremy Pruitt was a little rough around the edges. And that's probably why those two mesh so well. I mean, I think Jeremy probably sees a lot of Jeremy as far as personality and stuff in himself.
A lot of learning lessons tonight for a lot of guys, not just freshmen. Okay, we'll talk about Tyler Barron, Morven Joseph, some of these guys that they tried to play off the edge. And look, Tyler Barron did some good things, okay? Plenty for him to learn. But a guy like Elijah Simmons, a lot of learning lessons for him tonight. But Elijah did some good things against the run. I mean, I think you can take away from this, as I said at the start of this, that, it's same old Jared, not going to beat anybody that counts. Or you can take away from this, young football team had a rough fall camp in terms of having everybody out there.
Pruitt was emotional talking about that tonight.
Who found a way.
Yeah, I mean,
was he really?
Yeah, you were closing out the Vol Network broadcast. He did like a 2-minute soliloquy, before we ever got to talking about the game, just talking about what all the kids have went through, not just Tennessee's kids, South Carolina's kids, and and it talked about how it's really it basically borderline sucks that somebody had to lose. Somebody had to lose, but tonight was good for everybody. And borderline, I mean, like, he pretty much teared up. I mean, his eyes were wet. He never necessarily shed a tear, but he was emotional and talked about how much he had kind of appreciated his kids, the kids on the other team. It's easy to see why kids gravitate towards the guy. I mean, like, again, he's still rough around the edges. That's what makes him him. But he's gonna fight for his kids. Gana was asked about Cade Mays and the lack of a ruling from the SEC, and talked about how frustrating it was, and then followed that up with, my grandma told me that if I don't have nothing nice to say, I shouldn't say anything at all. And that's how he ended it, which was a nice way to say, I'm pissed off,
right,
but I'm not going to say anything that's going to get me in trouble. So now you know how I feel.
Right. You know how I feel without me telling you how I feel.
Yeah.
And without me talking down to you because maybe it was an obvious question. Of course I'm mad, whatever.
Yeah.
But it talked it that way. As we close it out, what do you look at? What do you think the biggest? Where do you expect the biggest areas for improvement for Tennessee between now and next week at Missouri, where this team has a chance to go home, get a win against Missouri at noon at home, and be 2-0?
Headed to Georgia.
With a little bit of momentum. Georgia's uncertain at quarterback and the whole 9 yards.
And even if JT Daniels gets cleared, he's not. I mean, I don't understand. How's he not cleared, but yet he won the job? You know what I'm saying?
Well, he didn't. He won the job because the other guy left.
But why did the other guy leave, though? The whole notion was
Right.
that JT Daniels had beat him out, and that's why he left. Well, but if JT Daniels wasn't cleared, then how would he have beat him out? They're a train wreck.
Unless he got re-injured and nobody's talking about it.
Could be. That could be.
Unless he had something to.
They're a train wreck at quarterback. And so, Tennessee, I think, can get back, to running the football more. I thought they got pass happy at times tonight. I expect Tennessee to run the ball better next week. I think game 2, always biggest improvement, game 1 to game 2. To me, that's a good thing for Tennessee because they showed flashes in a lot of areas tonight. Were they perfect? No. But I wouldn't say they just sucked in any particular area either, though. I thought that they showed flashes. At receiver, Jarrett obviously had his moments. They showed flashes running the football. Defensively, they were, lights out at times, and at other times they give up these huge chunk plays, and then they were not very good across the middle. So you're right, they're going to work that hard. But again, getting some of those guys back, getting McCullough back full time. We'll see what happens with Sean Schamberger. Is he back from Missouri, or will he be back the following week? Because that's the notion that's out there is he may have to miss next week as well.
Yeah, and they missed him tonight. They did. They missed his experience at the star position for sure. I'll leave it with this. Biggest play of the night, nobody's going to talk about. Or biggest moment of the night, nobody's going to talk about, is the defense who just got pummeled on the opening drive, finding a way after the botched punt to not give up points right there. Because if that's 14-0, you don't know what happens. That's a huge pivotal moment in the football game for a defense that went out and found a quick answer when they looked like they had no answers to start the game.
Not quite the same because Britton Colquitt didn't have one dribbled back to him, but Coach Fulmer, I think, in the press box had shades of Britton Colquitt against Florida in 2005.
And I thought Paxton could have kicked it.
I did too. I thought he kind of, and then it was like, oh, I'm going to throw it. And then he underhands it to Will Albright, and Will Albright thinks he's still at Greenville. Except he wasn't playing Elizabethton or Sullivan South.
And it was an illegal touch. He couldn't touch the ball anyway.
So, Tennessee found a way. Paxton, I thought, looked kind of at punter early, but he had a boomer there in the second half that really kind of flipped the field. And
the rugby style kick played, obviously both times played.
Yeah. Jimmy Holiday with the recovery there late in the game. And, so, hey, Tennessee finds a way. They win it 31-27.
Yep, and the Volunteers are 1-0, heading back to Knoxville and getting ready for the Missouri Tigers next Saturday at noon.